Good morning. As you see, I'm still in my waking up mode, and I felt called. I don't know any other way to say it. I woke up this morning. I was going to do a half-hour meditation, which I'm still going to do, and I read a quote that's a description in the Sacred Space for Rest and Courage video. And it was almost word for word what a being said to me in the 1990s about these times. He said, have them not be afraid. The gods must finish their stories here. And I changed. I changed in that visitation. I changed dramatically. My emotional palette changed. My sense of self changed. My humanity was still working through everything it's still working through. We're not a finished product, but we're just not a bad product. And then everything he showed me, I am going to compile it and make it into an ebook while I'm in Tucson, Arizona. I'm going to be in Tucson, Arizona for a month. My daughter's over the border at the Kino Border Initiative with Kevin, my 80-pound god dog, and her constant companion. So if she needs to come back over to rest, sacred space for rest, I'll have a tiny home for her to come rest in and a place to take Kevin when she needs to do things he can't be a part of. Also, I'm living in Albuquerque, New Mexico now, for those of you that don't know, and my deeper, sacred, spiritual nature is at home here, the bedrock of the mother, the barren-looking fertility of her womb. In the last 3 years, the prophetics, these are half-hour conversations, they're directly the words coming from a place where you are directly connected in, for me, to a voice of creation speaking directly to you. For the last 3 years, I get these visuals, these sensations, these imaginations that of a larger operating state of beingness that, as I read the thread and the WhatsApp thread this morning in the Field of Tantramat group, you can see the thread, this emergent, embodying thread of being that we're in as human beings, that is who we are, not given by these circumstances, but who we are because we came, because there would be these circumstances. And I wanted you to know that. Two things occurred all those years ago in the 1990s. One was that, and yeah, I've even said it, I've posted this vision and spoken about this vision, forecasting these times. But our sense of God, our sense of divinity is so out there, not down here. Not walking with us, not allied. I don't think most human beings know themselves that way. I've never not. Doesn't make me special, often makes me sad. My loneliness hasn't been with creation. My loneliness has been with human beings, separate from creation by none of their own doing. So what does this mean? Tell them not to be afraid. The gods must finish their story. Jesus said, someone will do a better job of quoting him than me. Basically, he completed the Old Testament. What was that the major religions fall into? Jehovah was a warring God. He was prayed to, as was Yahweh. He was prayed to win the battle, to win the war, to prove the Israelites, the Arabs, the Christians, what became Christians, both prior to Christians, not Christians, I apologize, but the Israels, was to prove that those tribes in the Old Testament, that they were the most favored by a warring God. And that warring God also had more wives, more produce, more things. Interestingly enough, Muhammad and Buddha and Christ all said that's not who created this place. And that's just in the formalized religions. If you go to Theosophy and some of the deeper philosophies, there was a feminine source of this place, Sophia, wisdom, our ally. But you see in my words, it all gets broken up into these things that we need to believe in and we need to have take care of us, and that's not how it works at all. But it is what he meant when he said, now I've been paying attention to this since the 1990s, let the gods finish their stories. It means, let the warring gods that have built human beings who think that they're favored by killing and dominating and accruing wealth, let the story end. Second thing I was given was the creation templates, formally now part of the L.O.V.E. Institute. And we've been paying attention since 2014 to the levels of consciousness in these templates and maturing our own consciousness with them, not to survive a broken system, but to restore within us a system that is actually the bedrock of creation here, where everything has a place. Everything's part of everything else. Everything's designed to operate in relationship to everything else. And everything's part of a greater whole. But then 3 years ago, I began to notice in the work I was doing, this emergent embodiment phenomenon happening in human beings. And I think it was last year or the year before, I don't remember, I've been rebuilding my physical temple from the ground up since post-COVID. Successfully, I might add. But at some point I realized that I made a quote. The quote was, "We can't stop the self-rising now." Not the aberrated sense of personality that seeks the outside world to solve the inside problems. And then you could say there's been a practice, a community of practice, a community taking on the possibility that when we are gathered together in a coherent, cohesive, congruent phenomenon of exploration, discovery, curiosity, and practice, that the physical world, including our physical bodies and our sense of psychology, our sense of emotions, our sense of spirit, could go through a radical change, like in the movie Arrival. The language in the movie Arrival is very akin to the language of consciousness in the seven templates. But see, I want to say to you why I haven't talked it. Because the listening that humanity has become afflicted by is listening for answers. So they have stopped being technically able to restore self, monitoring their well-being by the outer world. And people have been having a hard time because when you're an emergent phenomenon, you literally peel away onion skins of not that. When you're embodying the parts of the body that had been compromised, start to do their thing to uncompromise themselves. And we swim in a sea of misinterpretation. We don't swim in a sea of we are whole. We swim in a sea of we are broken. So even this conversation I've been reluctant to have, except in a small community of practice, because it's become evidential. Not by belief, but by practice of being with another in the field, being regular people in regular worlds, practicing vulnerability, transparency, and discovering authenticity in their unique and essential aspect of creation. But as my beloved friend Barbara Marx Hubbard said, it only takes a small island of coherent human beings, all over the world, pocketed now, most of us unknown to each other, to shift the very foundation of consciousness here. And the God, meaning a being that was part of a larger generating, organizing design of creation, not something to be worshipped or bowed down to, or even believed in. He was a messenger, and a messenger that needed to produce a result here. I was the result. We are the result. So the mesmerization of the outer world holds the key to our future. It isn't working so good anymore, is it? Maybe it is our inner consciousness. Maybe it is in our own self. And maybe we are in a community of practice to thyself be true. Emergent self, embodying self. The one that lets us know that much of what we've been living is incorrect as a species. But if we know it's incorrect, then there's some way that it is correct. But do we really need to force everybody to know that? Or can we just become it? Therein lies the question. So I'm going to organize with my beloved Christina. She's my companion in my office and making sure I stay upright and meet my time commitments. So I don't have to use my brain for that. I'm busy. I'm busy in joy and sorrow. I'm not busy in love and hate. I'm only busy in love. But I am busy in joy and sorrow. I would love it not to have been this way. But in the field of Tantra Mat, this small, coherent community of practice, some of which you all watch and create a world, we're just folks. We're just folks that aren't drinking the Kool-Aid. We're just being with each other, hanging. As we change and as the deeper nature of the horrors and the futilities and the sadnesses and the griefs rise in our system, we give them a place because we know they're just on their way out. We got to make room for something inside us, and it's just the way our system works. It's our homeostatic system is that we heal. We reestablish self of wholeness. We're in that process. We don't become dulled down and deadened and unemotional. It goes completely the other way. Become highly sensitive and deeply emotional. We become precious. The precious children of paradise. Yeah, in the midst of the camel dung and the gods that taught humanity to kill each other in their name. It was never Jesus. It was never Muhammad either, by the way. Last thing I want to share as a sideline for those of you that might want to practice, develop for yourselves a community of practice in the emergent embodiment nature of things, because you just can't do it alone. We are a victim of the schematic of reality we got webbed into to survive. It takes a minute to get out of the tangle. Biologically, neurologically, ontologically, emotionally, spiritually. It just takes a minute. Why don't we dedicate the next 5 years to that? Each in our own fashion, each to whatever each of us is drawn to. I've been withdrawn from the world because I've been busy in the ethers. It's my paradise. Been busy developing matrices within which new futures can rise. It's a skill set. Not many people are drawn to that skill set. But it doesn't take many. So I've been busy about that. Been busy in the awakening of the archetypical nature inside of ourselves. As a human being, I've been at work. Not as a guru or not as anybody enlightened. No hierarchy. Isn't that the phenomenon of the principle of the feminine? Let there be no other gods before you. But that doesn't mean don't align with them, especially the ones that operate on behalf of life here. Can you remember? Can you remember a time where you as a species lived with the elemental world, could be in communion with the primal forces of earth, wind, fire, water, metal, that could be visited by angels, by beings that could guide because they were taller, they could see further than we could. How isolated we've become. Maybe no more. So as soon as Christine and I figured out on Zoom, because I don't want any video on Zoom, just the ability for people to ask me questions, really honest questions about their concerns, about the future. I am, after all, a seer. I would like to answer them. I would like to take the time to answer them, especially before the prophetics that start in January. I love that I get to do the work I do now. I do want to say that. It would have never been possible even 5 years ago. I remember when my lover, my friend Niall, 29 years my junior, the head of our, this place I work to do readings in Ireland, insisted we go see a Tibetan monk to have him set us straight about ourselves. You know what he said? He leaned forward and whispered, so we all had to pretty much stick our ear in his mouth. And he laughed gently and he said, "Thank God human beings are taking back the earth from the gods that destroyed it." I know. For you, it might be all about human beings. It may all be about the enemy called human being, them. But what if it isn't? I love you.